Hello, Jim 12's here today again. It's 28th of August 2023, and I have a guest with me, as you can see. She's called Lindsey, and I've known her for 10? No, not quite 10 years, maybe 9 years. And we were at the same college. We were both working there, and Lindsey was studying there as well. Anyway, we've found ourselves reconnecting over the issue of screen addiction. And Lindsey's kindly agreed to let me interview her. So here we go. And I'm going to play around with the screen, so you might see more of her and less of me, but that's probably a good thing. Question 1. That's wrong. When did you first become aware of screen time addiction, particularly as it impacts young people, children? Go.
Okay, so hello everyone who blesses us by listening to this important topic. So one of my first times realizing that there was an issue for people was when I was teaching adults, and I found myself rather sad because the students in my class seemed phenomenally disengaged with me and each other, but very engaged with whatever screen or device was on their desk. And so one day I came to class and I stood at the front door and I had everyone put every single device they had in a bag, thinking this would be a novelty. Oh, what's the teacher gonna do today? And I was actually met with severe aggression from these students, who, one of which actually was quite docile, polite, kind, a mother of teenage kids. And it was almost as if she was being told she couldn't have a drug. I don't know too many drug addicts, but I do have an inkling when they come off of something, she was almost agitated, like fiendish. And I was shocked. Are we serious? I said, you can have it back. I'm not keeping it. But it was she demanded that I not take it. She might need to hear from her daughter. I said, it's an hour-and-a-half class. Anyway, it actually made me want to no longer teach. I hated it so much that I, not long after, told my boss I didn't want to teach anymore, because it was as if I could hear what people were thinking. And it was like watching 20 different screens at the same time, no pun intended. But so that was my first sort of professional one. But then I was at a party at just a bunch of families, and one of the children had an iPad, and the mother said, I need to take that away. And the child sort of shifted into this severe, aggressive, rage-like behavior. And he was only like 18 months, not even. And I had never seen firsthand back then a child behave like that over a screen. And she acted like it was so common for her family. And I was just like, whoa, that's intimidating for me as a parent. And then, just, I guess, being a waitress, seeing people on their phones, not looking at each other at a table. I think anyone can maybe lament, or they've seen similar things. Then when it was with my own child, if we're getting specific about when, these are sort of when I first noticed there's a severe issue that isn't so simple as just put your device in a bag, that people couldn't actually handle it, or children couldn't actually handle it being taken off of them. I was like, whoa, this is bad.
So, sorry to interrupt, but are you saying at that stage you were equating this screen time with drug withdrawal?
Oh, yeah. When I saw it in the adult students in my class, I thought it was going to be a novelty for them to not have it. But I was met with a severe aggression from some of the male students, as if, who are you to ask for my device? or it was just odd. I found it really odd. Or even when I was a student, I had a teacher kind of pick on me for always wanting to sit in the front row. And I said, I go, well, I'm here to learn. I wasted some of my years in high school or university having fun, but I need to learn now. I'm paying a lot more for this. I said, I could sit up the back with the rest of your students who are all on Facebook, but I'd get just as distracted watching their screens if they're in front of me. So I need to be in front where I don't have side distractions.
Wow. Fantastic. So is that your first question?
My question, my first answer.
Have we done your first question?
You mean, have I answered your first question?
Yes.
Kind of. I think the one that hit home for me was with my own son.
Right.
To the point where I could cry. If you want that now or
No,
later.
I don't want you crying, no. Hold that back. But if you could go on to question 2, which is about how have you taken that revelation into your family? How is that? I should ask you, did this revelation hit you before you had kids?
Yeah.
So, and before you were married?
Yes.
Yes. So how did you, talk to me about how that transpired into your married life and being a parent now?
So I think when I was at a mom's group, once I had my son, my first son, there was a mom, like all the babies were sort of playing in the middle, all crawling around. And one of the mom's daughter, she went and crawled over and picked up her mom's phone. And the mom, so politely, gently, and with like a calm nature, grabbed the phone from the baby and said, "Not for play." And I thought, well, I like that. Because I've seen heaps of other parents just sort of give the devices to the children to satiate them, calm them, entertain them, keep them quiet. But I loved her very simple, not for play. And so I've taken that for my own kids. They don't use our phones for play. They don't use them really for much at all, other than potentially looking at pictures of the family if we're doing it together. It's very rare occurrence for them to have access to our phone. But even with my beautiful husband, who does like his phone, like many other people, it hurts a bit because it seems like, I don't know, like there's a disconnect of people in the room. You're in the room, but you don't get to be together. And so I actually, I was a little cheeky and I asked his permission, but I put a picture of Jesus on the back of his phone. so that when it pops up, I'm like, oh, he loves me. Yeah. So in our home, we don't want to use screens. Because even my son ended up, I would say, having an addiction to it. When he was just before he was 2, when he was being looked after by a family member when I was in hospital for 5 days. And when he came back to the hospital to see me, I thought he was a completely different kid. And talk about aching your heart. And then a year or 2 later, like he would sneak down and steal our TV controller in the middle of the night as a child. And I was like, is this for real? So we had to we were looking at desperate measures. So we used to watch TV with the kids a little bit, not much at all during COVID. But we ended up having to go see a doctor for behavioral issues because I had no idea what to do. I was like, and I think this is a similar phrase from plenty of parents that you can meet on a playground. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to stop this cycle. And anyway, I had prayed about it because I was at my wit's end. I had no idea what to do. And you had to wait about 5 months to get into the behavioral psychologist or the child doctor. And you had to pay up front several $100s. And anyway, someone ended up gifting me a book about, I'll just say it's called How to Have a New Kid by Friday by Kevin Lehman.
Yeah,
And
I'll put the title and details on the link.
Great. I know this is going to sound dramatic, but it's not, it's accurate. Within day one of initiating the teachings in this book, I saw what went from 3 full-blown meltdowns a day, kicking, screaming, bashing, thrashing, to 1 in 2 weeks. And I thought, this is a joke, this is serious. And so by the time we ended up getting to the doctor was more curious and asking us what we had changed. Because the GP who had to refer us to the doctor said, because you had to get a referral to that behavioral doctor. And he said, if I gave you heroin for 5 days and then took it away, how would you be? And so I said, you're literally referring to it as heroin. And he says, well, it's the same chemical similar in your brain. And I love neuroscience. So I'm like, let's look into that a little bit more. And then that doctor actually said, we've taken screens away completely from the kids. If we watch anything, it would be together as a family, a movie on a Saturday, if everything else was pretty much done. As a treat, not as a privilege. Or it's a privilege, not like I don't know that phrase, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was pivotal and amazing, and what gave me hope that this is possible. Because I saw the behavior change in my own kid.
Sorry. How did you find this book? And give the name of that book again.
Yes. So I prayed for help because I didn't know what else to do. And a woman knew that I was struggling from my church, and she literally handed it to me. She had 2 books left in her giveaway pile that she hadn't given away yet. And she thought that would bless me. And it's called Have a New Kid by Friday by Dr. Kevin Lehman.
And it's designed for what age children?
I'd say any age, the principles would stick, but I guess it's designed for like 1-year-olds, babies up to teenagers. But I know
it's not specifically for screen problems, it's behavioral problems.
No, correct. It's parental problems.
Well,
but what it did was give me the courage to put on my big girl pants and be a mom, and that I had reminded me that it was the authority my husband and I have. We are the parents. We make the choices that we believe are best for our children, and the results were remarkable. I make the joke, if we have another child, I'll probably write the man a letter to say thank you, because I wouldn't have felt safe.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So that's what helped me understand that. But then recently, now that my oldest son is in school, I was shocked. I said to the teacher, how come my son has watched more TV with you in kindergarten in 2 weeks than he has with me in my own home in 8 months? He's been introduced to shows there's nothing even technically wrong with them, but we've never watched them in our home. I said, why is he watching preschool, play school when he's at school? Or why is he watching Bluey during crunch and sit time? When my own son now is brave enough to say, excuse me, miss, could we turn it off and learn to talk to each other?
Oh,
I'm just saying, even a 6-year-old.
How old was he when he said that?
He's 6. This is in the beginning of the year.
And he said to his teacher,
could we please turn it off so we can learn to talk to each other?
oh.
So yeah. So that's when I thought, oh my word, there's a lot of screen usage at schools, and he's only in kindergarten. So I was polite, but I wrote to the teacher requesting if there's screen usage that she could not give it to my son, find a different way. And the librarian also agreed, because half the students, they go, well, not half, I don't know the amount, but they go into the library during lunch when they could be running and playing and learning social skills. They sit on an iPad and play a game for an entire lunch hour. So
sorry, interjection. When I was involved in teacher education, there was a very big thing called drop everything and read. I can't remember what the letters were, but every kid in the class would have a reading book. And it was a brilliant thing, primary school, for the teacher to have absolute quiet, because every kid was individually reading a book. Now, does that happen at all now?
I don't know, I've not heard it yet. I'm not picking on them.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, wouldn't that be great, an antidote to the screen?
I think for our family, the antidote to the screen is no screens. You're not allowed them, because we've taken it away for about a year now. When they do get any type of a screen, the behavior shifts visibly afterwards. They almost get cranky, grumpy, not horrible, but it's noticeable. And then they get a little bit more demanding for more. So in my mind, it's far easier to just keep it off completely than to give a little bit, just because you were so nice or you weren't feeling well, or all the many reasons it would be really convenient to give it to them.
Yeah.
Even to the point where if we have guests in our home, I'm going to use the word training our kids. When the guest wants to show them a photo or a video on their phone, my kids come and ask permission first before they just look at the person's phone. And sometimes they even go so far as to say, just tell me about it instead. Describe the picture to me.
Awesome.
It's not easy for them all the time, because they want it too. They love candy. Who doesn't want candy? But they're learning. I'm hoping that I'm educating them as well as to what's going on in their brains, because I personally believe that even for teenagers or young people who this is affecting dramatically, because my kids are still little, they don't have social media yet. Those who do, I think that they would figure it out. Like, they would be interested to know what, I have another book, what two teachers have to say about what screens are doing to them. I figured teenagers are capable, intelligent, but potentially not rational, is what I'm being told. I'm kind of getting laughed at a bit. I don't have teenagers yet, but I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that teenagers are going to be able to see what's happening, call a spade a spade, and make choices for themselves. But anyway, yeah, that's how it went, sort of with my husband and me.
Thank you. Going to number 3, I think you've covered that. That question was about how do you personally manage technology in your own life. I think you've been there. But is there anything you wanted to add on the downsides or the upsides? I think you've gone there.
Well, if it's personally in my own life, for me with my own phone and screen usage, I don't know how to rectify this yet, but sometimes I actually feel super guilty when I use mine at all. Because there's like, I don't ever like comparing myself and other people, because I would never in my heart want another parent who potentially has a completely different life scenario to me feel guilty because they're not like Lindsey or whatever. I don't love that.
Yeah, but can't you say, I'm looking at this because I'm researching as opposed to being entertained.
Yes. One of the people refers to that as candy versus vegetables.
Yeah.
Entertainment being like the candy, the lollies, versus a hearty meal where the learning I've already done has been foundational and established. Now I'm going to use technology to enhance it and propel me forward, which is what I usually use my phone for. That endless scrolling thing, I know I can be just as addicted as the next person. So I try not to touch it. Like if I can avoid it, if I just put it down, I know what it will do to me. I can end up being on there for hours. So I end up not wanting to do that at all. But when I'm in front of my own children, specifically, they call it screen association. It's now ideal that you don't even have screen association up until the age of 2. That means not even letting your kids see the device that you're on. And that's something I'm aware of. Even people who are high up in Silicon Valley, they don't even let their own kids go to schools with screens. And one of the biggest arguments from the children is they're appreciative, but they say, "Why you, mom and dad, are on screens?" And I'm like, in my mind, that's a simple explanation to a young person. Well, now that I'm learning, your formative years of your brain need to be a different type of learning than anything you're going to pull off on a phone at this age or a device. That's getting a bit wordy, but I don't feel good yet if my kids see me on or near my phone. And I use it for things like recipes, if I'm cooking, or if I'm selling something. I don't actually even like it. I do see the value. I'm not, just so everybody's clear, I'm not an anti-tech person. But I think that nobody's anti-tech anymore. And the people who are making money love that. I don't think we need to sell each other on that.
Lindsey, time is going. And I really would love to leap into what are your thoughts about screen addiction and pornography?
So I know that schools are one of the top places kids first see pornography, and it's usually by year 4 because of devices, whether the children have brought them in from home or they're just on the devices at the school that the school provides, and the kids, there either aren't proper filters or the kids know how to circumvent them, and then they force each other to look at it. This is a common occurrence, and it's usually, I don't know the percentage, it's not hard to find, but it's pretty high how quickly they'll have it. And I think I heard before that the porn industry is what sort of fueled the internet around 1997. That's, porn used to just pop up. They were pop-ups, and it could just pop up. At least that's how it was in America when I was young. I remember that. So someone gave this analogy. Imagine you're a student, a high school student, and your textbook is online. So if the equivalent would be if I handed a teenage boy his textbook, but on top of it was a Playboy. And I said, you need to finish lesson 12 by tomorrow. That is what I believe the connection between the internet, screens, and pornography is.
And boys,
Two available.
Boys and girls?
Yep, boys and girls. I think the percentage is higher for boys and men, but I don't think that is relevant. I think that girls are just as susceptible. Does that make sense? Like
Yes,
it could affect a girl as much as any boy.
Yeah.
They all have phones. They're all curious.
Yeah.
And it's just as available for them if you wanted to look up whatever.
Yeah. So basically, your concern with screen addiction is also a concern for porn addiction.
Oh, it's pretty tied.
Yeah.
Because it's so
we've got 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Please tell me where you want to go. Where do you think we should go with this concern of ours?
I would love to see people get educated about what's going on. There's so many books I can give you that I've just read recently that show a gamut of ways. One of them is called Stolen Focus, and it shows many different areas of which a person's focus is being taken from them, whether it's diet, sleep, screen use. The everybody knows the algorithm concept of things like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. They're literally designed to drive you crazy and keep you on longer. I'm finding for myself, the more that I'm aware of what's happening and why it's happening, who's getting money. Sniff, I always say, sniff the money trail. Who's making money here? I would love to think that people would be on a similar page and they would be just as appalled as I am or passionate as I am. But I'm finding that's kind of not the case. When I share this with people, whether they're on a playground and we're having chats and they're lamenting about their screen use or the fact that they can't connect with their husbands anymore because they're always on the phone, or the husbands aren't connecting with the kids because they're on a phone. When I share some of the knowledge that I'm gaining, I first of all try not to ever appear like a know-it-all or rude. I don't know how to say that politely. I don't want them to feel like I'm superior in any way. But like if I need help for my teeth, I'll go to a dentist. I'm not going to go to a photographer to help me with my teeth. So if you have an issue in an area, you go to someone who has the knowledge on it. I certainly don't have the corner market, but I have enough that I feel able to share publicly.
So the bottom line is awareness, and getting into somebody's heart, their perspective, their motives. Is that it? So yes, I mean, I'm comfortable with that as an agenda, if you like. I mean, the people who've written these books that you're passionate about, and the links will be down there. I presume that was their motive too. Is that right?
It sounds like it. Many of these people, you can sense that they know it feels abysmal. It feels like this is no hope.
Well, I must confess, I've only had a few conversations with people in social settings about this so far. To me, I've been forming my ideas and we've been coming up with stuff. But the conversations I have had, they basically say, well, this is it. This is life. This is life. There's going to be no change. And that really takes the wind out of my sails. And I think, well, what a defeatist attitude. I can see the short attention span of youths in the shopping precinct. They have no concept of personal space. They walk into you. It's a disease as far as I can see. And I would love Parliament, but then in nanny state, I don't know. Help me out.
Yeah, I'd love to see teachers, like if you want to go local, you start in your own school and
Yes.
simply ask the teacher, how much is this kid on screen?
Yes.
And don't sign the waiver saying, yes, they have permission to go online. Ask, find out how much they're actually on. And not to hurt the teacher, but because they matter. Because you don't want an entire class of kids seeing pornography on a Thursday afternoon because they finished their task. They have screen-free time.
Lindsey, you've done amazing. Thank you so much. Time has defeated us. Screen addiction, we're going to defeat it, okay?
At least there's hope. Parents are powerful.
Parents are powerful. I love that. And those books and getting educated is certainly the first step.
Well done.
Bless you heaps. Thank you. I'm going to stop recording.